Yeah. Hello. Oh my goodness. Every time I get on here, I'm like, oh, I look terrible.
Hello.
There's Kaylissa. And Kaden. Here we are. Here, let's move this out a little bit.
There's a woman here.
We went swimming today, so my hair is a mess.
So is mine.
So we finished The Witch of Blackbird Pond yesterday, and today we're starting The Whipping Boy, and this one is for Benny, my oldest. When I called him and told him, hey, I'm going to start a channel and I'm going to read some of our favorites, he said, do you remember that book you used to read to us, The Whipping Boy? So I got this one special for Benny. This is for you, baby. It's kind of a kid's story, but it's really funny, and it's like a not kids as my teenager, it's a chapter book. So it's cute. It's funny. So it'll take only a couple of days, but we'll get through it. So, I always like to ask, what did you have for dinner? Not only because it's fun to kind of share, but for ideas, right? Sometimes I just can't decide what to make, so it's fun to know what other people are making. Tonight, we had turkey noodle soup. I had some leftover frozen turkey and broth from Thanksgiving. So I made turkey noodle soup and cheesy garlic biscuits. They're kind of like the homemade version.
Some cinnamon, guys. This is my
snack. The homemade version of Red Lobster biscuits. They're really good. And then we had cheesecake for dessert. So that was yum. And then, I showed off. I didn't get anything to show off today of my stuff that I made. But I am wearing the blue necklace. So tell me what you think. It looks good.
Here's some of my
You're going to show off the...
This is her blue mushroom.
Yeah, that one is so cute.
Yeah, it's cool.
It is cool. Okay, so...
And here's her heart.
So we're just going to start this one. This one has pictures, so I'll hold them up and show the pictures whenever there's a picture. Here's the book. It's The Whipping Boy by Sid Fleischman. Fleischman. I'm not sure how to say it. Illustrated by Peter Sis. And this one was printed in... Where's the year? It's interesting always to me to... So this edition was printed in 2003, but the copyright is 1986. So when I was 6 years old. Also, today's my mother's birthday. And she's 82. She's either 82 or 83. My goodness. I tried calling her and she didn't answer. And I texted her to tell her happy birthday and she didn't reply. So I hope that means she's doing something really fun and special with family. And so she can, she'll probably call me back or text me later. But happy birthday, Mother. She's the best mother in the whole world. So, okay. Chapter 1. In which we observe a hair-raising event. No, Caden, what are you doing? You're so noisy. The young prince was known here and there and just about everywhere else as Prince Brat. Not even black cats would cross his path. One night, the king was holding a grand feast. Sneaking around behind the lords and ladies, Prince Brat tied their powdered wigs to the backs of their oak chairs. Then he hid behind a footman to wait. When the guests stood up to toast the king, their wigs came flying off. The lords clasped their bare heads as if they'd been scalped. The ladies shrieked. Prince Brat, he was never called that to his face, of course, tried to keep from laughing. He clapped both hands over his mouth. But out it rippled, a cackle of ha-has and haw-haws and he-he-he's. The king spied him, and he looked mad enough to spit ink. He gave a furious shout. Fetch the whipping boy! Prince Brat knew that he had nothing to fear. He had never been spanked in his life. He was a prince, and it was forbidden to spank, thrash, cuff, smack, or whip a prince. A common boy was kept in the castle to be punished in his place. That'll teach him. Fetch the whipping boy! The king's command traveled like an echo from guard to guard up the stone stairway to a small chamber in the drafty north tower. An orphan boy named Jemmy, son of a rat catcher, roused from his sleep. He'd been dreaming happily of his ragged but carefree life before he'd been plucked from the streets and sewers of the city to serve as royal whipping boy. A guard shook him fully awake. On your feet, boy. Jemmy's eyes blazed up. Ain't I already been whipped twice today? Gah, what's the prince done now? Let's not keep the great folks waiting, lad. In the main hall, the king said, 20 whacks. Defiantly biting back every yelp and cry, the whipping boy received the 20 whacks. Here's the picture. I like the pictures. They're funny. Then the king turned to the prince. And let that be a lesson to you. Yes, Papa. The prince lowered his head so as to appear humbled and contrite, but all the while he was feeling a growing exasperation. Oh, that's a little scary. You just got some little scissors. How about something else? How about something pokey? How about the paintbrush? Oh, it's pretty. The prince lowered his head so as to appear humbled and contrite, but all the while he was feeling a growing exasperation with his whipping boy. In the tower chamber, the prince fixed him with a scowl. You are the worst whipping boy I ever had. How come you never bawl? Dunno, said Jimmy with a shrug. A whipping boy is supposed to yowl like a stuck pig. We dress you up fancy and feed you royal, don't we? It's no fun if you don't bawl. Jimmy shrugged again. Nobody wants your lemon. He was determined never to spring a tear for the prince to gloat over. Yelp and bellow next time, hear? Or I'll tell Papa to give you back your rags and kick you back into the streets. Jimmy's spirits soared. Much obliged, your royal awfulness, he thought. I'll take me rags and I'll be gone in the half blink of an eye. That was chapter 1. It's not going to take long to get through. Chapter 2, wherein the prince cannot write his name. Jemmy could count on a thrashing first thing in the morning, sure and certain, he thought, as he pulled on his fine velvet breeches and silk stockings. The prince would not know his lessons. The royal tutor was quick as a fly swatter with his willow switch, and Jemmy would be back in rags. Take a last look at me, Pa, rest your bones, he muttered to himself. Did you ever think I would be holed up in the king's own castle? You're so noisy. And all rigged up in duds would shame a peacock. Reckon I'll fetch a pair of sharp-toothed ferrets and go to rat catching, Pa, same as you. Same as you. The tutor, Master Peckwood, was a round-faced man with fat cheeks. He pointed his switch at the prince. Oh, he just dumped out a whole container of paper clips.
I'll be back. Just 1 second.
Okay. Here, should we turn it so that we can...
Person.
Yeah. Okay. The tutor, Master Peckwood, was a round-faced man with fat cheeks. He pointed his switch at the prince. You fiddle-faddled scholar, he bellowed. One day you will be king, and you still do not know the alphabet from pig tracks. The prince snapped his finger. I can always get someone to read for me. I'll tell her when she comes back that you're glad to see her. You're so silly. You cannot so much as write your name. Pish-posh. I can always get someone to write my name for me. The tutor's cheeks, swelling with anger, almost unhorsed the small spectacles saddling his nose. Mandy says it's so good to see Kalissa. She likes to see you. She thinks that's sweet.
Okay, I'm back, guys. Went to go get a chair so that I can sit because my legs got kind of tired.
Oh, should we turn it so they can see you too? There.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi. How's the video going so far?
It's going good. Pish posh. I can always get someone to write my name for me. The tutor's cheeks.
I talked to her.
Okay. All right, here, let's try this. The tutor's cheeks, swelling with anger, almost unhorsed the small spectacles saddling his nose. It would be easier to educate a boiled cabbage. Prepare to be punished, your lordship. 10 whacks at least, said the prince, and good and hard, if you please. Jemmy, who was obliged to be close at hand for the daily lessons, reckoned that freedom was now close at hand. The prince threw him a smirking glance as Master Peckwood raised the switch and beat the whipping boy like a carpet. Jemmy didn't bawl, he didn't yelp or bellow. 10 whacks. And not a sound escaped his lips. You contrary rascal, the prince exploded. I'm on to you, Jemmy from the streets. It's pure spite that you won't howl. You think you can cross me and get away with it? Ha! Never and no how. God, thought Jemmy, he's going back on his word. And do not try to run away. I'll have you tracked down till your tongue hangs out like a red flag. And so it went for more than a year. The prince learned nothing. The whipping boy learned to read, write, and do sums. Chapter 3. The Runaways. On a night when the moon glazed down like an evil eye, the young prince appeared in Jemmy's chamber. Boy, tumble out of bed. I need a manservant. Jemmy saw that the prince was wearing a black cloak and carrying a wicker basket the size of a sea chest. What you up to now? Walking in your royal sleep, are you? I am running away. The whipping boy sat bolt upright. Hardly a day passed that he didn't make one plan or another to run off. But a prince? What horrible new mischief was this? You can't hop off like you was common folks. What's biting you? Said the prince. I'm bored. With dumping bullfrogs in the moat so no one got a wink of sleep? Boring. And didn't you laugh fit to kill when the knights slipped off their horses and clattered to the ground? You'd hog grease the saddles. The prince folded his arms. Boring. And don't you get me thrashed so this hide of mine feels like the devil run over me with spikes on his shoes? Let us be off. Why me, Jemmy thought. Can't you find a friend to run off with? But no, not you, Prince Brat. You've got no friends. That's why me. Jemmy pointed to the window. It is night out, he protested. The best time, replied the prince. But ain't you afraid of the dark? Everyone knows that. You won't even sleep without a lit candle. Lies. Anyway, the moon's up, good and bright. Come on. Oh, what you doing? What you doing? Oh, he wants to taste your lemon.
Just takes the whole thing.
Yeah.
I need no.
Are you gonna have lemon right on the video? Is it yum? Yeah? You gonna try it? Did you taste it? Didn't you? Give him a minute, he'll give it back soon. Jemmy stared at him with dreadful astonishment. The king will have a gory-eyed fit. Positively. He will hunt us down. You'll get off light as a feather, but I'll be lucky if they don't whip me to the bone. More likely I'll be hung from the gallows. Scragged, for sure. You are lookout, said the prince with a dry grin. Carry the basket, Jemmy from the streets, and follow me. Chapter 4. Containing hands in the fog. You noisy. Lantern. But by dawn, the runaways, double-mounted on a horse from the castle stable, were hopelessly lost. A thick fog had swelled in. They had strayed from the road, and trees had closed in on them. Forests is creepy things, said Jemmy, hanging on to the basket as best he could. Gimme cobbled streets any time. A low branch almost swept them off the saddle. "Boy," said the prince, "get down and lead this dumb-headed beast." "Lead it? In this fog? I'd need 2 hands and a lantern to find me own nose." But Jemmy slipped off the saddle. A plan had been tumbling about in his head. "Here is your chance, Jemmy," he told himself. "Slip away in the fog. Run for it. No more whippings for you, not if you can't be found. The great sewers, Jemmy, that's the place to hide." "What's keeping you?" asked the prince. "Grab the halter." Oh, here's a picture. Let me flip it around. Sorry. Oh, he is so wiggly. It's not helping. My goodness. Here's a picture. The boy's riding the horse. Okay, sorry about that. "I'm thinking." Leaves crackled under Jemmy's feet as he began to back off. His mind was made up. Once the fog cleared, he'd find the river. Hadn't his pa taught him his way through the maze of mighty brick sewers? That's where they'd caught the fiercest rats to sell by the cageful. The dog and rat pits paid fancy prices for the best fighters, and that meant sewer rats. Who would think to look for Jemmy under the city? Jemmy took another crackling step backward and froze. A sudden yellow glow floated in the fog. The prince burst into squawks and bellows. "Who is there? Let go! Take your hands off me, you insolent rascal!" There came a rough, booming reply. "Well, what we got here?" The glowing lantern swayed. "A noisy brat on a fine beast of a horse." Jemmy edged closer. A cutthroat, he thought. Like a snake striking, a ghostly hand darted through the fog and clutched his arm. He's making such a mess. A second cutthroat. Jemmy looked up and barely made out a long, bony face with hollow cheeks and a nose like a meat cleaver. That's quite a description. A nose like a meat cleaver. "I got another, Billy," cackled the second man, shoving Jemmy forward. All right, chapter 5. Now, this probably better be the last chapter. Maybe I'll do 5 on this one because they're so short. Hold your nose, Billy, and Cutwater. Billy pulled Prince Brat from the saddle and threw him into Jemmy. Raising the lantern, the man held it close enough that Jemmy could feel the heat of the flame. Billy was a big man, he saw, big and raw as a skinned ox, and he smelled like a ton of garlic. "Not much of a catch, 2 sparrows," said Billy, "but ain't they trimmed up in fancy rags, Cutwater?" "Ain't they?" echoed the rattle-boned man. "Got any gold in your pockets, lads?" "No business of yours," snapped the prince. "Ah, but so help me, it is my business," Billy said with thunderclap of laughter. "Don't you know who I am?" "A clod and a ruffian," declared the prince. "Worse than that," corrected the big man. "Ain't you never heard of Hold Your Nose, Billy?" "Famous he is," put in Cutwater. "Put to song is Billy." Jemmy thought he remembered. Hadn't he heard ballad sellers fling that name about the streets, the exploits of Hold Your Nose something or other in verses by the yard? "The highwayman, are you?" "The same." "The murderer?" "Only in the line of duty." Hold Your Nose, Billy chuckled. "So you won't mind if we take your horse and empty your pockets?" "Not a copper between us," said Jemmy. A prince didn't carry money, for he had no use for it. Sis, will you turn that light back on? It adjusted. Jemmy's accounts were kept on the books. "What's in the basket?" piped up Clearwater. "Hands off, villain!" snapped Prince Brat. "Don't you know who I am?" Jemmy gave the prince a sudden jab of his elbow. "Sis, please don't. Just leave it. Just leave it." Jemmy gave the prince a sudden jab of his elbow to keep his mouth shut. Not a word, but the heir to the throne raised himself to his full height. "Bow to your prince." Fog swirled around the lantern. "Bow to what?" asked Cutwater. "I am Prince Horace." "And I'm the Grand Turnip of China," Cutwater snickered. Dim-witted villain, shouted the prince. I command you to turn us loose. Shh, they can't hear if you're too noisy. Are you singing too? Everybody's singing. And whenever she sings, he sings. It's cute. I command you turn us loose, or Papa will put the pair of you in chains. Oh my goodness, he is moving everything. He's such a handful. What are you doing? Hold your trap, Jemmy thought. He declared. His paws nothing on airs, though. Got enough lips for chortled the big highwayman. Cutwater, take the lantern and fetch the horse. What do you reckon's in the basket, Billy? Plenty of time to find out. The lanterns floated off. The evil-smelling Billy clutched each boy hard by the ear. Stir your legs, walk, and don't let me catch you on our turf again. Do I make myself clear? Clear as window glass, said Jemmy with a sigh of relief. If you would be kind enough to point us toward the river, I'd be ever so much obliged. Sorry, you can probably hear that. Charles is watching It's a Wonderful Life in the other room, and it got really loud. Billy, came a shout from Cutwater. They ain't just common sparrows. Have a look at this saddle. Hold your nose, Billy hung on to the boy's ears. At the horse's side, Cutwater was holding the lantern close to the saddle. Skin me alive, declared the big man in awe. That's the king's own crest. We stole it, horse and saddle, Jemmy put in desperately. Bosh, retorted Prince Brat scornfully. Didn't I tell you who I was? Bow low, you fools, and be off. But the two men neither bowed nor fled. Hold your nose, Billy threw a bushy-eyed glance at his fellow outlaw. Cutwater, what do you reckon a genuine prince on the hoof is worth? His weight in gold at least, Billy. All right, that's it. So we did Would You Like to Get Up? The first 5 chapters. So maybe we'll do 6 through 10 tomorrow. Zip up. Oh, zip up.
Can I make some videos now?
Well, you can just come on this one. Oh, here, baby.
Okay.
Here.
Okay.
What you do? We're just say goodnight to everybody. You can say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Come back to the story, lady.
Yeah.
Bye.
Maybe you could do my maybe I could do a video tomorrow and maybe you could watch.
He's never done that before. Did you hear him? He'll put his hand up, but he won't ever kiss. But he puts his hand up and goes. Yeah, he didn't blow kisses. He blew spits. Oh well, it was cute anyway. Bye bye. See you tomorrow. So cute.